So it's Friday the 9th of July, and it's the RORC Cowes-St Malo race. It's about 150 miles to the finish line in St Malo, but what they've done is put a little extension on the course so that we can race back to the UK, because obviously the British boats can't go to France at the moment, so we'll be coming home. Equally, the French boats that are taking part have sailed over to make the start this morning. So we're carrying yellow brick trackers for this race, and there's a lot of stress on the VHF at the moment of getting all the trackers to all the boats, and there's a rib out here delivering them to the French boats that have come in to do the race. So organised, but just a little bit stressful for some people. It's looking quite light. Major factors on this race are tidal factors. It's spring tides, and we're going round the Channel Islands, which are renowned for their strong races of up to 8 to 10 knots. So if that's against us, we're really not going to go very far, very fast. So it's probably one of the most technical races, and given that the new Fastnet course will finish at Cherbourg, we're racing in the vicinity of that. So it's really interesting, really good preparation and all good practice and training for the big race in August. So this is the course. We come out of the Solent to the west, and we head down towards the first mark is just off the Casquettes, which is by Alderney, and we have an area that we have to avoid, a TSS, the Casquettes TSS that we have to avoid, and our routing takes us pretty much south, and then as the tide turns we'll be going across to the west. That's going to be a painful part of the course, quite critical tactically, but light winds, strong tides. Then we come outside of Guernsey to Les Hanois Light. Then there's the Minkies down here, which is an area of shallow, beautiful area for anchoring. I've been there several times, but we keep those on our left as we head down to the finish line at St Malo. Now for us continuing on back to the UK, we round that mark to starboard and we head back, and all the routing has us inside the islands, up and up to North Head by Hurst. Now this Alderney race is quite critical, and the tide turns against us at midnight on Saturday, so if we're not there by then, I doubt we're going to make it. So the race finish here is the one that counts for points, and the rally home is a nice to do, so if there's no wind I'm sure there'll be some engines going on. 4 minutes to our start. We've just changed the head sail to the J2 because the southwesterly has filled in. There's swell, there's Molino, and just there is Aries, and a lot of French boats that we recognise from the Dream Cup. The bad news is our wind instruments have broken at the top of the rig, so our wind direction and speed is all rubbish. So we're sailing like a dinghy. Short tacking out the Solent. I have no idea where Aries has gone. It's really hard to keep track of anyone when you're ducking boats and tacking under them and all sorts going on. But we're just approaching Yarmouth. I hate to think how many tacks we've done. The sun's still shining. Need to make the most of it because the rain is coming tonight. So we're just leaving the Solent. It is 10 to 1 lunchtime on Friday. Swell and Aries are ahead of us, but we can see swell. But it was very confusing in the Needles Channel because all of Class 0 and Class 1 caught up with us, and we'd caught up with Class 4. And everyone was tacking on top of everyone and ducking everyone, and some people were being more successful than others. So it's a little bit busy, but we're now on our long tack south across the channel, basically heading towards the corner of the TSS, and then we've got that painful bit against the tide to go towards Alderney. But this is it now, starboard tack for quite a while. So I think some lunch, a drink, and 8:30 and we can just see the big ships going into the traffic separation scheme ahead, which is an exclusion zone. Aries is 1 mile ahead of us on our bow, and Swell with Henry and Miles Seddon 1 mile bearing 312, and we're basically heading south, so we've done well on them. And to leeward we can see the other 3300s are Sea Bear and Fast Track. The wind's just lightened off. We've peeled to our J1 from our J2, and we've probably only got about 30 minutes more tide taking us west, and then the tide will turn and take us east. So it is now 6:45 in the evening of Friday the 9th, and I'm doing a little bit of indoor yachting. James has just taken the helm from me and I'm having a little bit of a rest, but there's very little breeze. It's probably about 2-3 knots. We don't know because our wind instruments aren't working, so we're sailing the boat like a dinghy. So I shall give you a little tour of the inside. So chart table just in front of me. I'll show you the expedition picture in a little bit. James is out on deck sitting to leeward, trying to keep the boat moving, and I'm sat on the J3, and on this side there's a code 0 behind there and a spinnaker, and this is the J1. Another spinnaker and our kit bags and some safety stuff all piled forwards. And I'll just show you up on deck. Not a lot, eh? So as you can see, we've changed to our fractional 0. It is 8:30 in the evening. We've got another hour until it's officially sunset. Cloud is building. Looks quite grey ahead. That might be the rain. I can tell you that Swell is just down there, about a mile away. I can tell you Aries is that one, and that's Tigress of Cowes. And there is Sea Bear, and James looks cold. So you can see our track has gone all the way to the east, and then we've turned and come this way. And what's happening is the tide is going that way, quite strong. We're pointing against it, and we've changed sails now, so we're just making against the tide. So we're doing 5.5 knots boat speed, and we're making about 2.5 to 3 knots in the right direction. Strange. When the tide turns, we'll probably be back on the jib because the wind will go forwards on us. So it is 2 o'clock in the morning, and maybe 2, maybe 3, and we've just rounded Alderney, and that was quite exciting in the dark. And we've changed from our fractional back to our jib, but the wind is a little bit all over the shop, and with our instruments not working it's quite hard to tell, but we've got 2.5 hours of tide, favourable tide with us, and we really need to make it round the mark at Guernsey. So that is 17 miles away. So we've got to push to get there. Swell have had an amazing leg, and they are now 5 miles ahead of us. And they're right up with the big boats, so they've just done amazingly well. And we've struggled a little bit, but with no instruments and wind shifting all over the place, it's not been easy. And it's now started raining. It is very grey and very wet. And James doesn't look that happy. He's smiling. So it is Saturday and it is 7 o'clock in the morning, and it started raining about 2, so for 5 hours we've been in the rain, and it's forecast to keep going until about 10 o'clock, midday, something like that. We are just south of Guernsey now, and we're heading towards St Malo, the final little bit. Swell, our competition, is 7 miles ahead of us. They've had an absolute stormer. Sea Bear and Wild Pilgrim are near us, and Aries are 5 miles behind us. So it's been a real mixed bag, and I'm not sure what we've done wrong. Not having instruments and with the light conditions and strong tides hasn't helped. But I don't think we've made glaring errors. Maybe the wrong sail. We had our fractional 0 rather than our masthead 0. But I just don't know. We just got to keep pushing till the end. So we have about 22 miles to run to the finish. Course of 150 straight to the finish, with the Minquier plateau on our left. There's a few lobster pots, but the sea state's calmed down and we now have our spinnaker up, which was not in the forecast, but we went from a jib to the fractional 0, then onto a spinnaker, which definitely warmed us up, and it stopped raining, which is even better. But it's a straight line drag race to the finish now. Should be finished in about 5 hours. "10 miles to the finish, and this is what we have. Absolutely nothing. And it's not just us, it's everyone else too. We have tide taking us at 2.5 knots, and that's it. So I hope the wind fills in before the tide turns. Otherwise this could be the longest 10 miles ever. All a bit pants. 10 miles, no wind. We have every sail on the deck ready to go. None of them have got any wind in them. But we're not alone. That's our saving grace. 10 lousy miles to the finish. We're kind of sat in a hole, teasing us. The tide taking us, but no wind. Those ahead on the beach have got a little bit of pressure, and those coming in behind are coming in with pressure. And we're sat in nothing. A tough finish for a tough race. That hasn't been our best. We haven't made any major errors, but hasn't quite worked out. And this is a rubbish way to finish. If we finish. My battery's going to die before we finish the race. We still have 4 miles to the finish, and that's how excited James is about it. He's just let the tiller go. There's no wind. It's been a shocker, and these last 4 miles are painful. One mile to the finish, and there's a mass of spinnakers all coming in with this new pressure with this cloud, and we're going around the red mark on our bow. The finish line is just to the east. We round it to starboard. The end is in sight when I thought it wasn't going to be.